Hello, everyone. So, this is an update on the story of the artist, Sasha Skochelenko, who protested the war in Ukraine and had just been sentenced to 7 years of labor in a prison camp. So now there are doctors in Russia who are calling for her release. Specifically citing her several chronic health conditions. Sadly, I don't think that's going to do anything because I don't think Russian government cares. And moreover, I'm now concerned about the safety of those doctors because they can now be seen as the sympathizers to somebody who protested the war in Ukraine. And again, I want everybody to consider what is happening here. And this is every paranoia you can think of in history. Every time when things got so extreme where neighbor would report neighbor and people got arrested, imprisoned, and sometimes executed for trivial things or for no reason at all. This is happening in Russia right now. And it gives me the chill because one of my great grandfathers was arrested and executed without a trial in 1937 at the height of Stalin's rule. He was Jewish. And he was working at a Ministry of Finance at the time under Stalin. And so when I think about the history of my family and I'm seeing what is happening, I just can't believe it's happening again. Because this is all basically Stalin's playbook right there. And that is very scary. And the fact that there are people who support this, including some people in the United States, quite a few of them, that is even scarier. After the war in Ukraine began, and after Ukrainians realized that there was support for the war among the Russians, there's been a lot of statements pointing out that Russia basically had ruined its relationship with Ukraine, possibly irrevocably. And this story on the BBC website is yet another example of how people are affected by that, by the fact that the Russian-Ukrainian relationship is now completely messed up. So I recommend the story because, again, one of my goals in producing these reports has been to put a personal note, a personal input, a personal face to the war in Ukraine. And this is just such a story. It puts a very personal situation as an example of the many, many effects of the war. It talks about a woman who is Russian, who is a Russian citizen. She's married to a Ukrainian, but she never bothered to obtain a Ukrainian passport. She never bothered to obtain Ukrainian citizenship. And now she is sort of in a state of limbo, legally speaking, because her husband is Ukrainian. One of her children, that the child they already have, is Ukrainian, was born in Ukraine, and she's pregnant with their second child, and she has no idea where that is going to land her. She can't get a job because of her Russian passport. There are some benefits that she no longer has access to. And again, I do not approve of that. I think, since the woman clearly lives in Ukraine, is married to Ukrainian, she had no way of knowing that there was going to be a war. So should she have gotten the Ukrainian citizenship since she was living there? Yes. But should she be punished like she's being punished at this point? No. I think, the best thing for her would be to put her on some type of a fast track to Ukrainian citizenship. But the point is that this is one of the many, 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 many things, many families, many personal stories that are affected by the fact that Russia went and completely screwed up its relationship with Ukraine. Again, if you want a personal spin on this, go read the story. And this is in The Guardian. I know a lot of people criticize The Guardian for actually interesting getting the story about the war in Iraq after 9/11 wrong, which is stupid because a lot of us were taken in. But I can tell you again, based on the information I pulled from multiple sources, The Guardian is one of those who presents a pretty good summary about what is happening in Ukraine. I don't always agree with them. Some of their headlines are a bit sloppy or a bit unclear, but all in all, they've done a good job doing the coverage. So in this particular case, they're pointing out that Russia might begin a full mobilization after 2024. So what does that mean? So as of right now, Russia has a conscription age, and it's men only, right? So it's only men of certain age that get pulled into the army. And then there are other factors like depending on the man's family status, depending on his status as a student. If somebody's at the university, they might not get pulled in. However, considering the heavy losses they have sustained and continue to sustain in Ukraine, that might change. They might just start pulling in anybody and everybody who can hold a weapon. And I can't see that being a good thing for Russia, especially considering it directly contradicts Putin's insistence that they need to expand their population. Dude, you just wiped out an entire generation of men and you're about to pull in more. That's not going to be helpful. And going back to Russia continuing to screw up its relationship with Ukraine, there have been casualties today. 3 people were killed in Dnipropetrovsk, that's Zaporizhia's neighbor to the north. And there's been damages, of course, to the infrastructure, in this particular case, power lines and a gas pipeline. Among other casualties, there's also been a strike in Nikopol, which is in Dnipropetrovsk region. And again, the people who are getting killed are complete innocents. They haven't done anything. They're not soldiers. They're not spies. They're not NATO agents or anything. In this particular case, we're talking about an elderly woman. I seriously doubt she was a NATO spy. And in addition, there's been more information about children being kept in Russian camps, children who were kidnapped from Ukraine. And of course, the frustrating part for me is that UN, Amnesty International, Red Cross, all of those organizations remain silent on the subject. They've spoken up once, but there's no repeated statements. There's no repeated efforts to get those children back. Ukraine is having to work on this on its own. And there's definitely no protests, no outcries, none of that. So when it comes to the essentials in this war, Ukraine continues to stand alone.